My name is Eliza Monroe. I'm 33 years old. And until one quiet, humiliating moment at a party last Saturday night, I thought I knew what love looked like. I was wrong. The moment everything cracked wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle enough that, for a few seconds, I wondered if I was imagining it. My boyfriend laughed, leaned back against the couch, while another woman sat comfortably in his lap like I wasn't standing 10 feet away watching it happen. And when I finally said something, he rolled his eyes and told me to stop being insecure. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Ethan and I had been together for 3.5 years, living together for the last 18 months. Long enough that people stopped asking if we'd get engaged and started asking when. We had routines, shared groceries, shared rent, shared weekends that blurred together in that quiet, grown-up way people mistake for certainty. We fought sometimes about dishes, about money, about his habit of checking out emotionally when things got uncomfortable, but I told myself that was normal. I trusted him. That was my first mistake. The party was at his best friend's place, one of those casual gatherings that starts with a few drinks and somehow explodes into a packed living room by 9. I wasn't particularly excited to go. I'd had a long week, and socializing felt like work. But Ethan had been talking about it all week. So I showed up, like a supportive girlfriend does. We arrived around 8. The place was already crowded with his friends, coworkers, and people I barely recognized. Ethan disappeared into his work circle almost immediately, which wasn't unusual. He thrived in those environments, confident, charming, effortlessly liked. I grabbed a drink and made polite conversation. At first, nothing felt off. Around 9:30, I went looking for him. That's when I saw them. Ethan was in the living room, sitting on the couch. His coworker, Lauren, perched on the armrest beside him. She was leaning in close, laughing at something on his phone. Her hand rested on his shoulder. Not casually, familiar, comfortable. Then she slid down. Not fully at first, just enough to adjust her balance. And then she was sitting in his lap, for a second, long enough that my stomach dropped. I walked over. Hey. Ethan glanced up, irritation flickering across his face like I'd interrupted something important. Oh, hey, what's up? Just checking on you, I said carefully. You've been over here a while. We're just looking at work stuff, he said, holding up his phone. It's funny, you wouldn't get it. Right, I said. Can I talk to you for a second, privately? Lauren smiled apologetically as he stood. We stepped into the hallway. What's going on? I asked. What do you mean? You were sitting in her lap. Oh my God, he scoffed. I was not. She slipped, he continued. Stop being insecure. That word hit harder than anything else. Insecure. Like noticing reality was a flaw I needed to fix. I stared at him, realization blooming slow and painful in my chest. You're right, I said quietly. His shoulders relaxed. Thank you, he said. Can we just enjoy the party? Sure, I replied. You go ahead. I watched him walk back into the living room. Watched him sit beside her again. Watched him lean in. He didn't look back once. I set my drink down, and I walked out the front door. The drive home felt longer than it should have. No music. No podcast, just the steady hum of the road and the sound of my own thoughts finally getting loud enough that I couldn't ignore them anymore. My phone started buzzing around 10:15. I didn't look. By the time I pulled into our driveway, the silence inside me had hardened into something cold and focused. I wasn't panicking. I wasn't crying. I was done guessing. When I walked into the house, the lights were off. Ethan's laptop sat on the dining table, open. Exactly where he always left it, because as he'd once joked, I have nothing to hide. I stood there for a full minute. Then I sat down. His messages were still logged in. I didn't have to search. Lauren's name was already there, pinned near the top, active, alive. The thread went back 4 months. 4. At first, it was work-related. Projects, deadlines, complaints about meetings. Then the tone shifted. Inside jokes, late-night messages, venting. About work, about stress. About me. She's been so distant lately, she doesn't really get my sense of humor anymore. Each message felt like a small betrayal on its own, harmless if isolated, devastating in accumulation. Then came the lunches, casual plans he never mentioned. Grabbing food real quick, running late, late-night conversations time-stamped well after I'd gone to bed. Photos, not explicit, but intimate. Angles I'd never seen, smiles he hadn't given me in months. Then I saw it. A message from 3 weeks ago. Sometimes I wonder what it'd be like if we'd met first. His response came minutes later. We still could find out. Her reply, lol. Maybe. Not now. I have a girlfriend. A laughing emoji at the end. Like it was cute. Like it was hypothetical. Like I was a placeholder. I took photos of everything, sent them to my email, closed the laptop. Then I sat in the dark living room and waited. When I finally looked at my phone, there were 15 missed calls and nearly 30 messages. The progression was predictable. Where did you go? Are you okay? This isn't funny. Then irritation. Everyone's asking where you are. You're embarrassing me. The last message came through at 11:20. Fine, I'll get a ride home from someone else. I didn't reply. At 12:47 a.m., headlights swept across the front window. I stood and watched. Lauren's car. They sat inside for almost 10 minutes, talking, laughing. Her hand touched his arm. He leaned closer. Then Ethan got out, waved, and walked toward the door. When he stepped inside and saw me sitting in the dark, he jumped. Jesus, he said, you scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark? Waiting for you. Why didn't you answer your phone? I was worried. Were you? His brow furrowed. What's your problem? How was the ride home? It was fine, he said quickly. She was nice enough to drive me since you abandoned me. Abandoned you, I repeated. Interesting choice of words. Oh my God, he sighed. Are we really back to this? I saw the messages. He froze. What? The messages, all of them, 4 months worth. You went through my laptop? It was open, I said. And before you make this about privacy, let's talk about emotional cheating. I haven't been cheating. Sometimes I wonder what it'd be like if we met first, I quoted. We still could find out. He didn't speak. Want to explain that? He opened his mouth, closed it. I want you to pack a bag, I said calmly, and leave. What? This is my home too. You can come back tomorrow when I'm not here, but tonight, you need to go. Where am I supposed to go? I met his eyes. Call her. Ethan stared at me like I'd spoken a language he didn't understand. Call her, he repeated, voice cracking on the word like it wasn't supposed to exist in this conversation, like I was being cruel instead of accurate. I'm sure she'll be happy to help, I said. My voice stayed steady, which was almost surreal, like my body had decided shaking was pointless now that I finally had proof. His face tightened. Eliza, please, don't do this. Don't do what? I asked quietly. React like a sane person to 4 months of you building a relationship with another woman? He stepped closer, hands raised like he could calm me down through sheer posture. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, I said. You didn't trip and fall into emotional intimacy. You didn't accidentally send her photos. You didn't mistakenly complain about me to her. You chose it, over and over. His eyes glossed over. Nothing physical happened, he said quickly, desperately, like he'd been waiting to play that card. I swear, we didn't cross that line. I let the silence stretch. Then I said it. You crossed every line that mattered. His lips parted, his shoulders slumped like the fight drained right out of him. I love you, he whispered. The words hit me in the chest, in a way that might have worked 6 months ago. Tonight, they sounded like strategy. You don't love me, I said softly. You love the stability I provide while you explore your options. That's not true. It's the only thing that explains your behavior, I said. And the second I noticed something was wrong, you called me insecure. You made me feel crazy for seeing what was right in front of me. His eyes darted away. That told me everything. Pack a bag, I repeated. I don't want excuses. I don't want explanations. I don't want promises you didn't think to make before you got caught. He stood there shaking his head, as if refusing to accept the reality could undo it. This isn't over, he said, voice sharpening with panic. Yes, I replied, it is. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then he walked to the bedroom. I listened to drawers open, clothes being yanked out too roughly, a suitcase zipper snagging. His footsteps heavy, frantic, the sound of a man who thought consequences were things that happened to other people. When he came back out 15 minutes later, he was holding a duffel bag. His eyes were red, but his face had something else in it too. Not just remorse. Fear, not of losing me, of losing the life he'd been comfortably coasting inside. I'll fix this, he said, voice thick. I'll end it. I'll block her. I'll do whatever you want. That's what you should have done months ago, I said. He swallowed. Eliza, please. I walked to the door and opened it. He hesitated, like he expected me to change my mind in the final second. I didn't. He stepped outside. I locked the door behind him. And then, only then, I let myself breathe. My phone rang 5 minutes later. His name lit the screen. I blocked it. A text came through from a new number. Please talk to me. I'm sorry. I'll do anything. Blocked. Another. Blocked. By morning, it wasn't just him. It was his friends. His mother. Even Lauren. The audacity of her name appearing on my screen made my hands go cold. Blocked. Sunday came like a slow, gray punishment. I didn't sleep much. I walked through the house like a ghost, touching things that suddenly felt like evidence. His hoodie on the chair, his toothbrush, his coffee mug. Little artifacts of a life I'd assumed was mine. Around noon, the knocking started. At first I ignored it. Then came the doorbell. Then his voice, muffled through the wood, cracked with pleading. "Eliza, I know you're in there." I stayed silent. "Please," he said, "we need to talk." I didn't move. "I'm not leaving until you talk to me." Something sharp flickered through me. Not anger. Clarity. I opened the door just enough to see him. He looked terrible. Same clothes from last night. Eyes puffy, hair messy. His expression somewhere between grief and entitlement, like he couldn't believe I was really enforcing a boundary. "What do you want?" I asked. "I need to explain," he said immediately. "You don't know everything." I gave him a slow look. "Oh, I don't?" "It was emotional," he insisted. "That's all. I was confused. I made stupid decisions, but I never stopped loving you." I leaned against the doorframe. "Do you hear yourself?" I asked softly. "You're trying to minimize months of betrayal by putting a label on it, like emotional means harmless." "It does mean something," he pleaded. "It means we didn't cross that line." "You crossed the line the moment you chose her over me," I said. "The moment you shared parts of your mind with her that used to belong in our relationship." He blinked rapidly, tears spilling now. "I was lonely," he said. "Then you should have talked to me," I replied, "not to her." He opened his mouth to argue, but I cut him off before he could build another story. "He doesn't get my humor anymore," I quoted, voice flat. He flinched. "Remember writing that?" I continued. "Because I remember reading it. You weren't just talking to her. You were rewriting me into the villain so you could justify getting closer to her." His face crumpled. "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," I said, "because you kept doing it." His shoulders shook as he started sobbing, and for one terrifying second, habit tried to take over. 3.5 years of reflex whispered, "Comfort him." But something stronger answered, "If you comfort him now, you teach him he can destroy you and still be held." So I didn't. "I need you to leave," I said quietly. "Please." "We're done," I repeated firmly. "You can come for your things when I'm not here. I'll text you times." He stared at me, like he was searching for the version of me that used to fold. That version didn't exist anymore. I closed the door, locked it. He stayed outside crying for another 20 minutes. I could hear it through the wood, and it hurt. But it didn't change anything. That week was a blur of blocked numbers and ignored emails. Apologies, promises, threats, guilt trips. He even sent a message that said, "You're throwing away years over texts." I stared at that line for a long time, because it wasn't just wrong. It was revealing. He still didn't understand what he'd done. Or maybe he did. And he just wanted me to accept it anyway. On Thursday night, a mutual friend, Jared, one of Ethan's closest, called me. I almost didn't answer. But I did. "Hey," he said, voice awkward. "I heard what happened. I'm sorry." "Thanks." For what it's worth, he added, everyone noticed how he was acting that night. It was uncomfortable. The words sat heavy in my chest. "Then why didn't anyone say anything?" I asked, not accusing, just exhausted. A pause. "What were we supposed to say?" Jared replied. "Your boyfriend was being inappropriate? You were there. You saw it." I exhaled slowly. He wasn't wrong. But still, it hurt. Then Jared said something that made my stomach drop all over again. "After you left," he said carefully, "they stayed another hour." I know, he got a ride home with her. "No," Jared said. "I mean, they left together, like made a point of leaving at the same time. Everyone noticed." The detail hit like a slap. Not just betrayal. Performance. Public. Bold enough that people watched it happen and carried it home as gossip. I thanked Jared and hung up. And for the first time since that night, I cried. Not because I missed Ethan, but because I finally understood something. I wasn't blindsided. I was being played in public. And when I objected, I was punished for noticing. That was the part that haunted me. Not just what he did, but how easily he made me question my reality. By the end of the week, my grief had sharpened into something steadier. Resolve. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want drama. I wanted peace. And peace meant one thing. No more access. 2 weeks after the party, I finally started to feel functional. Not healed, not okay, but able to get through a day without my chest tightening every time my phone buzzed. Work helped. The gym helped. Physical exhaustion made sleep easier, or at least less haunted. Then, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, I walked into a coffee shop near my apartment and saw Lauren. She was standing at the counter, hair pulled back, scrolling through her phone, like she hadn't helped detonate someone else's life. For a split second, I considered turning around. Then she looked up. Our eyes met. Her face drained of color. I ordered my coffee anyway. She stood stiffly near the pickup counter, clearly debating whether to bolt. I took my drink and walked over before either of us could pretend this moment didn't exist. "We should talk," I said calmly. Her shoulders slumped. "Okay." We sat. The silence between us was thick, uncomfortable, earned. "Did you sleep with him?" I asked. Her eyes widened. "No, I swear, nothing physical happened." "But you wanted to," I said. She didn't deny it. "It wasn't one-sided," she said quietly. "He wanted it too." "I know," I replied. "He told me." She swallowed. "I thought he was unhappy," she admitted. "He made it sound like you didn't understand him, like he felt invisible." I nodded once. "That narrative was convenient for both of you." She winced. After a pause, she said, "After you broke up, he got intense. Immediately. Talking about us being together for real, moving in, making things public." My chest tightened. "And?" I asked. "And I realized I didn't want that," she said. "I liked the attention, the fantasy. But the reality, he was clingy, dramatic, wanted reassurance constantly." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was predictable. "I ended it 3 days ago," she added. "He didn't take it well." We sat in silence again. "So," I said finally, "you helped destroy my relationship for something you didn't even want." She nodded. "I'm sorry." I believed her, but it didn't change anything. "You should stop responding to him," I said. "I have," she replied. "I will." She stood first, clearly relieved to escape the weight of my presence. As she walked away, I realized something unexpected. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. That conversation didn't give me closure. It confirmed something better. That the fantasy was never real. That I hadn't lost anything worth keeping. 6 weeks have passed since the party. I'm doing better. Not great, but better. Ethan tried contacting me one last time 2 weeks ago. A long email about growth, regret, how he finally understood what he'd thrown away. I read it once, then I deleted it, and blocked his email. I've heard through mutual friends that he's struggling. Lost some friends who sided with me. Gained a reputation at work for being unprofessional. Tried dating. Nothing stuck. A small part of me feels bad for him. The rest of me knows he built this. I've gone on a few dates. Nothing serious. I'm not rushing. 3.5 years with someone who betrayed me taught me patience. And the value of listening when my gut speaks up instead of explaining it away. The hardest part isn't losing him. It's accepting that I'll never know when it truly started to go wrong. Was it before Lauren? Was she just the symptom? Did he ever love me the way I loved him? I don't have those answers, and I'm learning to be okay with that. What I do know is this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. When your instincts warn you, listen. And when someone makes you feel crazy for noticing reality, that's not love. That night at the party, when my boyfriend rolled his eyes and told me to stop being insecure while sitting with another woman far too comfortably, he showed me exactly who he was. I just wish I'd trusted myself sooner. But I did walk away, eventually. And I haven't looked back. Life goes on. That's what they don't tell you about heartbreak. It feels permanent when you're inside it, like your world has narrowed to pain and disbelief. But one day you wake up and realize you're okay. Different, more cautious, wiser, but okay. And okay is enough to build something better.